Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. Today's a very special episode for the both of us because we have one of our best friends, a truly incredible individual, the woman who introduced us and essentially helped us pave the way for this podcast to even exist. It is Alicia Proft.
Yay! Welcome.
So not only is Alicia a full-time mother, she is a real estate investor. So that's how she's relevant to this episode. This episode is going to dive into breaking down the I can't because I have children narrative and turning it into I need to because of my child or children's future.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to listen to all the episodes that are about to come out.
Thank you. So we're going to start off just jumping in right away. So tell us a little bit about you and your lifestyle so that our listeners have a sense of who you are.
I guess I could start off with, I'm 30 years old. I'm married to my husband, Joe, and I have a little one who's almost 2 named Arlo, my son. We live in the Fox Valley, and that's basically where I've lived my whole life. We're really into health and fitness, and I've been into health and wellness, I guess, for almost the last 10 years. So that's a really big part of our lives too. We're just really family oriented. We really like to take care of ourselves. Obviously, we're interested in real estate, and that takes up some of our time and is a part of our top priorities. But really just taking care of myself and my family is one of my biggest priorities in life right now. So
yeah, we'll dive into all of those things in more detail. And I think that the whole like taking care of my family and myself thing really ties into real estate, and having this whole like passive income stream is like a great way to fund, just having a more comfortable life for you and your family. But before we jump into that, if you want to just tell us about how you met Mims and I know that we've met separately and have known each other for different amounts of time. So if you just want to give everyone a overview of that.
Yeah, for sure. I love both of the stories of how we met and like how we connected. So I'll start with Mims because I think I've known you, for sure I've known you longest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because technically we met back we knew each other 10 years ago when we worked at a clothing store together.
Right. Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we kind of went our separate ways after we stopped working there. So both of our husbands are best friends, basically. And when you started dating Jake, Joe, my husband, was like, hey, Mims. Let's all get together because she says she knows you. And so that's how we connected. And we've just been like best friends ever since.
Yeah. So like she said, Jake was like, hey, do you know my friend's girlfriend you were dating at that time? And I was like, no fucking shit. It's Alicia. It was so crazy because you and I we very much clicked back in the day, but like you said, we went our separate ways because the store closed and then we got different jobs and all that type of stuff. So it was really cool that we were organically back together in a way. So I think it all happens for a reason.
For real.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I had no idea that that's when you guys met or knew each other.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, there's no way.
Work friends are the best friends.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then of course, like Lexie, like the story about how we met is so like incredible too, because again, our husbands who were then our boyfriends were Facebook friends. And I'm pretty sure my husband Joe reached out to Alex and basically said, hey, we noticed that you guys are vegan and we're vegan too, and you live really close by. So do you just want to like get together and meet and see if we like each other, basically?
It was such a random way that Joe and Alex had like become Facebook friends. They like never met were in person. It was sort of just like something that happened, that like Joe heard about Alex because back in the day he was DJing, and so he
was he really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he DJ'd at the rave, and so like that's how we heard about him. Added him on Facebook. Like several months went by, and then Joe reached out to Alex, and Alex told me this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of weird. I don't know what to do with that information. I don't think we for like the longest time. And then it was like a Friday night. We didn't have anything to do, and we were kind of just like sick of being home by ourselves. And like, you remember that vegan couple that reached out to us? Like, maybe we should hit them up and get together and see if it's awkward or if it's fun. And Joe and Lish were available, and so we went and got sushi and just like hit it off so immediately. I think we spent like 2 hours there just like talking and eating sushi. Like the start of such a great friendship.
Yeah, I think we like bonded over our cats and like obviously food and just life experiences, I guess, like living in the Fox Valley and there or whatever. And the rest is history.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I remember showing up to the restaurant and sitting down, just being, I think maybe we sat down the whole time, and then when we got up to leave, you guys stood up, and I'm just like, you're like a full foot taller than me.
Did we get there? We must then have gotten there before.
Yeah, you got there first, and we're sitting down.
I forgot. I think you told me that one time before, but I forgot about that. And that is so funny because I forgot completely.
If anybody has seen the picture of Kylie Jenner next to her older sister, and it's always like when you're with your tall best friend, that's literally the case for Lexie and I with Alicia, because she is beautifully tall and we are tiny, itty bitty people. So it's just so like contrast when we're next to each other, but we make it work.
Yeah, it works.
Friends with short and tall always work out the best.
Yes. I totally agree. So I want to talk about what propelled you to start this passive income journey.
Yeah, that's a good question. Ta-da! This one right here. Mims and Jake just, I don't know how you came up with the idea, but I remember when you started talking about it and telling me your plans to buy a duplex as your first home. And I don't, again, remember exactly what the timeline was, but the more you talked about it, and then I think when you actually did purchase the home and I saw what you guys were doing, I was like, this is an aha moment for me. I mean, you know, when you talk about moving into your first home, you want to make it as simplified as possible. And while real estate isn't necessarily simple, the money aspect of it was really like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that you guys took what we were saying and actually practice it in your own life, because I was telling Lexie in episode 2 that a lot of the times that we've had talks with people in passing and people that have wanted to sit down and talk with us about what we do, they've kind of brushed it off. They were like, well, I can't be a landlord because of this or that, or it's too much time. They have all these excuses, and it just fills me with joy with people that actually take it all in and then they meditate over it and then they're like, all right, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember there was one particular like car ride and coffee run that Joe and I had gone on.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking about it, and I was probably just really highly caffeinated. So I was like, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. Like, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't we do this? We're just gonna let the house pay for itself and go from there. Like, we have to do this. And I remember Joe just thinking like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says.
I love that. As far as your journey right now, what type of real estate investor, what are your practices? What is your approach?
So I'll just say that we currently only own the one property, right? We're not like, you know, we don't have a long history of owning properties and anything like that. But I definitely think like long-term investing is our thing, because we're not interested in selling any of the properties that we're purchasing.
Like flipping right away or anything like that.
Right. So I definitely think like, house hacking is basically what we're going to be getting into in the next several years for sure. Basically what you guys are doing, and you.
Yeah, And you have long-term tenants in the building that you live in currently, and is that sort of like your plan moving forward, is kind of keeping the long-term tenants and moving into another property and keeping long-term tenants in there too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you find tenants who are willing to stay and, you know, it works out well, definitely, like that's absolutely the end goal. So we're hopeful that that's going to continue for sure.
Yeah. In our last podcast, Mims and I talked a lot about buying a house like as is or buying a fixer upper.
I kind of see it from both sides, and I'm probably in more of a gray area on this because we bought our home before we had our son. So we definitely had more time and I guess more cash and all, you know, the resources to be able to gut bathrooms and take on really large projects like that. And that's basically what we did when we bought our home because it was a fixer upper.
We have a visitor. For the people that are on our YouTube channel, if you're not,
Yeah,
you should go on because we have a little friend. Who is this?
Yes, this is Omaha. We're cat sitting him for 10 days, and I told him that he has to stay on the floor while I film this. And he doesn't like to listen, so
this is his world. We're just living in
it. Absolutely. What a cutie. I was hoping I would see him.
Sorry.
No,
you're all good.
But so basically, yeah, personally now, would I want to go out and buy a total fixer upper? Definitely not. But could the home have a lot of maybe aesthetic updates,
cosmetic updates that could be done?
Absolutely, like for sure. You know, it's really just about what you have time for, what you're willing to make time for, how safe it would be to do certain types of renovations in your home with children, whether or not you have enough space. And then also resources like the people who can help you do things to move them along quicker. Do you have family and friends who can perhaps watch baby or at least just be there to help with, you know, the stuff that you have going on? Because obviously, if you're a parent, you know that takes so much, you know, you have to have hands on at all times. So sorry, I'm not answering one way or the other, but
it's okay. It's kind of like sometimes you can't, it's very individualized, each person's journey. Like a family that has kids or maybe just one kid could be all in and maybe want to do all that and have that space. It's just depending on that person and the family unit. So it's not a black and white answer for sure. None of this is.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. And also just like depending on what kind of properties are out there. I know, Lish, you and I were talking recently when you guys were searching for like looking at duplexes and like 4 options in the whole Fox cities. And so sometimes that's sort of out of your control, whether it's going to be a bigger project or if it's kind of just good to go.
Yep, absolutely. There's so many factors that you have to consider. And yeah, it definitely just depends on what's best for you and your family. And how the market is going, really.
Yeah. What would you say to other women out there that have that inner monologue in their head telling them that they can't take risks like investing in real estate because they have kids?
Well, I definitely understand how it feels to take a risk and how that might feel scary, but I would just say think about the resources that you're going to have because you're purchasing a duplex or because you're making passive income from real estate. Right now, for example, childcare is super hard to come by. People are having a hard time getting kids into childcare now when they're currently pregnant and they've been told like by doctors, hey, you might have a hard time or you might be struggling. So figure out ways to have someone take care of your baby or, you know, to provide childcare for them while you're working. And basically what we're doing is my husband works and I stay at home with my child and we save money that way. And our passive income from real estate is just, you know, an extra bonus basically to our income. So I wouldn't say like, how can I make this happen? Or like, how risky is this? And is this a good thing? I would say to myself, I almost should be doing this if I'm already in the market for a home, because you're just going to be making extra cash that's going to be helpful to support you and your family and perhaps provide childcare for your family.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Alex and I always like to joke around and say, like, we need a third person in our relationship to like contribute bills and like clean the house things. And I feel like, I mean, although our homes are currently big projects, it feels like the income that's coming in from them really is like our third person in that relationship. And not to mention, when you're house hacking and you're living in one unit, renting out the other, it's like you're getting your mortgage and your utilities like fully covered. And that's like, another expense that you don't have to worry about. And especially when you have kids and you have to think about things like childcare and all of the expenses that come along with having a baby, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it really made the decision for me to stay at home with Arlo that much easier, because I was like, I'm not going to be making my income, but we're still basically having our home paid for. And that takes a huge load off as a parent, having that covered. I mean, as anybody, but, when you're thinking of childcare and all the added expenses, that children create, then for real, it was like an absolute no-brainer for us. So
we're talking about all of these things in such a positive light, and we don't have to pretend that real estate investing is super easy and it's all, sunshine and rainbows. What are some of the pros and cons of real estate investing while also being a stay-at-home mom, taking care of your gorgeous little one?
I thought a lot about this question because I feel like, I don't know. I guess it's hard because the pros are the financial aspect, right? Like you're making that added income, you're not necessarily paying your mortgage, but there really aren't too many cons once you get the ball rolling. Like if you're in the process of, like I said before, already buying a home, why not just purchase a duplex? You do have that added work, getting a tenant in, the paperwork, maintenance of the home and all of that. But you're really already doing that when you have a home. And once the tenant is in and settled, there's not a lot of work day to day. So I guess that's the biggest pro besides making that added money. Sure, will you have maintenance things or questions of the tenant or whatever here and there? Sure. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot of legwork every single day. And I think that's what makes it so great. You just kind of living in your house,
Right.
I was just telling Lexie in episode 2 that if you do it right, as far as putting in tenants that you have a really good feeling about, that you vetted, that you've actually called references, that you have checked their criminal history, that you have seen if they've had evictions or not, if you've met in person and can feel their vibe, essentially, it should work out in the end. You're not going to always maybe see eye to eye, but if you put somebody in there that that is respectful, that that has a good rental history, there shouldn't be any problems. So if you're just putting people in there, and I know people that do this, if you're just putting people in there just to fill it so that there is no vacancy, you're going to have fucking problems.
Yeah.
And maintenance things is always going to be a thing. It's never not going to be something that you're not going to have to deal with. And you have to consider that with the type of property that you're going to purchase. So if you buy 100-year-old house, yes, there's going to be things that are going to happen, but you could hire things out like we talked about before. You can research things. If there is a foundation problem when you are looking at it and you still decide to buy it, you should know what it all entails. So none of these things should be something that you can't face or overcome, or at least educate yourself on.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the same if you're buying multifamily or if you're buying a single home for your family too. So those considerations no matter what. And if you're someone who has a family or wants to start a family, wants to settle down somewhere, those are things that just come along with being a homeowner.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the only thing that you don't have to do is vet people to live in the property that you own. That's obviously you're going to be occupying yourself. But as far as maintenance and updates and all that, that's something that you're going to have to be concerned of regardless.
And you're always going to have neighbors. I mean, there are so many people who have kids who live in duplexes or multifamily or apartments, so I think for a lot of people, that's not strange by any means to have your children around people or within close proximity. So yeah, it was never really an issue for us either. And yeah, totally agree with you guys.
What piece of advice do you have to mothers that want to start this process or are in the lifestyle that promotes a healthy work-life balance?
Well, I think firstly, it just getting a little bit more educated on what it means to own real estate, especially if you don't currently own a house or property. Definitely you have to keep listening to passive aggressive income because they're going to give you so many helpful tips and information just on the whole process. I'm sure you guys are going to cover literally everything because I know you both have seen so much. You've experienced so much with owning properties, and yeah, you're going to get some great information with this podcast. And then definitely just get to know or talk to the people in your life who are already investing in real estate. I mean, everybody knows somebody, whether it's a real estate agent or somebody who owns property of some kind. Like, oh yeah, my friend has a B&B and does this, like just talk to the people that you know, and you wouldn't believe the amount of information you can get just from those conversations. I mean, it's invaluable. I got my nails done at a salon like years ago, and the guy doing my nails owned real estate, and he was like,
I love that.
Yeah, he was like telling me all about it, giving me advice, gave me this guy that like, I forget something about real estate that would be helpful. But anyway, so yeah, like everybody knows somebody who's doing it, and just talking to people, learning about experiences, getting information that way is, I think, the best way to go.
I'd like to add, Facebook is incredible. They have groups for any type of thing that is out there, including landlords. And there is a network specifically for the state that Alicia and I are living in, that is, you can throw up any type of predicament that you're in, and there's at least 15 other landlords on there saying, I've experienced this, call this person or whatever. It's a huge network. Everybody has each other's backs on there, as far as I've seen. And I like to have a network of people that I maybe the least knowledgeable in. Like if I have an attorney friend, I fucking love that. I've never been to law school, but I know a guy that's been to law school. I'm not a plumber. I know a plumber. I can call him up. I just have people on your roster that know more than you, and you're going to do really well in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I depend on both of you sometimes I ask you questions all the time, or if something random comes up, or like, how do I handle this situation? Or what would you do in this situation? Excuse me. It's like, yeah, that's just the best way to go about it, because when you have people and you've talked to people who have, experienced a wide range of things, that's usually the best advice and help that you can get, for sure.
Yeah, a couple of things that both of you mentioned. Number one, Mims, Facebook. That is such a key, like super helpful resource for not only, like I'm also in a real estate investing group, then they'll do like some meetups every once in a while. So around neighborhoods and looked at houses. But also just your like neighborhood groups. If you need someone to like go plow a driveway, posting in your neighborhood group, you're going to see all sorts of people popping up that are willing and able and can, help you out if you need it with like a plumber, electrician. That's super important. Also, it's just like building your network of people who invest in real estate or who are involved in all of these different areas of life and have all of these different skills and expertise. It just helps you learn and become a better person. I think there's like a saying that's the 5 people that you surround yourself with, like the most, that you spend the most time with, are sort of like the average of you. So really look at like your friends and your family and the people that you're seeing on a regular basis is going to, if they're also like motivated, ambitious people who are investing in properties and doing all of these things and finding different revenue streams, and that's going to rub off on you. So surrounding yourself with those types of people is just going to set you up for success too.
Yeah. And now that I think about when you both mentioned Facebook groups, I came across a post on a mom's group on Facebook, and they were talking about real estate. Like one of them
Love that.
was a tenant, and then somebody came on and was commenting because she needed some advice, and they were like, oh, I'm a former property manager of 5 years, let me lay it out for you. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of information is everywhere, and it's just, talking to that one person or a few people and, making that connection, and there's just so much to learn.
Yeah, so bottom line, don't be shy. The internet is a great resource, and people that you surround yourself with should be, key players on being there as a support system and, a growth system as well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can kind of start wrapping this up and just talking about, Alicia, what are your future goals as far as investing? Are you planning on getting more properties? Are you taking it easy right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we just got pre-approved for our second duplex. Yay!
That's so exciting.
Yeah. So that is definitely in the plans, like near future plans. Again, we're scoping out the market because there's not a lot there right now, but definitely as soon as possible, we want to be moved into another duplex. And I don't know after that how quickly we'll purchase another one. One of our other priorities in life is to try and have a second baby. So that's going to be something we're really focused on too, and that might come before a third property. But for now, yeah, it's just kind of continuing on our own path with our own pace. But yeah, I am all for another duplex and continuing our good thing we have going here.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And can you also speak a little bit about this, when you first bought your duplex, you didn't have any children, and you and Joe got married after that.
Yeah.
Has having a family changed your priorities with real estate at all?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is. I maybe yes and no. Sorry, again, I'm being in the middle here, but I think we're just doing things more slowly. We're not going to be as aggressively buying homes or house hacking. We're just going to move as it feels comfortable with it, and make sure that, our home life and our children are comfortable and everything's peaceful for the most part. And yeah, so yes, having children has changed it because we're not going at the same rate that we would have had we not had children right away, but also no, because the plans aren't changing. They're just slowing down a little bit. So yeah.
I would love to ask if there's have you ever had people tell you to not invest or continue with that investment journey now that you are a mother and you have kids and all that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so. And I'll be honest, like I have questioned it too. I've been like, let's just buy a single family house, it's going to be comfortable. We don't have to live beside a tenant, like all of that. I totally get that. It's reasonable to think those things, totally valid. But ultimately, that's just not the future we want for ourselves or for our kids. And we want to be financially free one day. And this is one of the great ways to be able to do that. And, I want to set my children up for success as well and give them a good foundation like you were talking about. So, yes, there have definitely been people who have said, hey, why don't you consider this, or maybe this would be better for you. But when I think about it, you just get into situations where if you buy a single family home, like you just don't want to be house broke. And when we don't have my added employment income because I'm staying at home, and we wouldn't have that added income from, the tenant in a single family home, that really puts us in a tight position that I just don't want to be in. So yeah, I'd rather have that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be able to teach your kids, like, what it's like to have other responsibilities and like dealing with people, like with tenants, vetting them. That's like such great life skills for him to be growing up and watching you manage people and be for them, but still maintain like a business relationship. And so all of that, if anything, I think is just even more pros than just like the added income that you get from having other properties.
Yeah, that's a great point and something that I don't think about often enough.
Yeah.
Arlo's too little right now. I mean, obviously doesn't talk much himself. He understands a lot more than he can speak, but when it comes to that time, he's going to start asking questions. And of course, we're already explaining certain things to him. And yeah, that's such a great point. He's learning just more about how to build positive connections with people and yeah, how to continue with your goals, whether or not you have kids.
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of teaching them young, we want to thank our very special guest for being on, and we actually have a surprise for you and for your family. We got you this cash flow for kids.
You did not. That's adorable.
So it's a game that says what the rich teach their kids about money. I'm super excited. If you guys are on YouTube, here is the game. If you're interested in getting this for your kids, but here you go. I hope that you guys enjoy it.
That's so cute. I can't wait to show him. Incredible.
It says 6 and up, so I'm sure it's going to be a little bit down the road when you guys get to play with it. But I figured it's going to be a first great game to show him, especially for educating him as well.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah, teach him young.
Well, that is a wrap for this week. We want to thank, obviously, our guest for being here, for your time, and we want to thank you guys for tuning in for another week. Check us out next week for a lot of different content for real estate. Anything else that you want to add, Lexie?
Yeah, feel free to leave us a rating on Spotify or Google or YouTube if you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much, Alicia, for spending some time away from your little guy to speak to our listeners about just your unique perspective of being a mom and being in real estate. We really appreciate you being here.
Oh, well, thank you guys. And again, I'm so happy for you and congratulations. I can't wait to see where you take it. And it's a great pleasure to not only see my friends for a while, but to get out of the house. So thank you guys for having me.
Of course. All right. Thank you guys.
Yep, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexie. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.